3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We stream live on YouTube. We on Facebook. And, of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steel. Boom! The Cowboys have touched down in Oxnard, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow will be the official start of the 2023 Dallas Cowboys season. Oh, my goodness. But today, there will be a state of the team presser later on, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. However, on today's show, we'll discuss more of our camp questions. We'll pick this back up, talking about the defense, okay? Not a lot of questions, in my opinion. Not a whole lot of questions on that side of the ball, but I do have a few I want to get to. So it shouldn't be a fairly long show. It shouldn't be a crazy in-depth show, but if you want to call in and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, you can at 351-999-3787. Plus, in the roundup, we got more information on Big Zach Martin, as well as some injury reports. Our first kind of true official injury report of camp, and hopefully it remains to be clean, because we've already seen here yesterday a lot of different players getting banged up in non-contact injuries, and that probably is the worst part of starting training camp, is eventually somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to go down. You just hope it's not as serious as we've seen in the past and as we've seen over the last couple days. But what's good, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Couple things. Apologies yesterday for the stream ending abruptly when it did, as well as I guess you guys couldn't hear the startup music, intro music there, so I'm not really sure what happened on that part. But the system crashed yesterday. My bad. We were in the middle of a great conversation with me and Marcus. Me and Marcus was talking to ourselves, and I said, wait a minute, Marcus. I don't think this thing is working out here, so let me go figure this out. But it was a good show yesterday. Hopefully we can pick that up, carry that momentum into today, and we won't have any problems. There were no problems on Vacha's show, so there shouldn't be any problems here. Same system, just happened to crash on us. That's what happens when you don't have the best of resources, but we try to make what we can make with and give you a good show. All right. So Cowboys Nation, let's get into this roundup and let's talk about this here defense.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
Time.
It's time!
Time?
It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you!
Let me talk to you, Cowboys Nation. The Zach Martin thing not going away quite yet, right? Todd Archer, I think, was the first one to kind of report this. I don't necessarily know if it's breaking. Also, if you've heard anything over the last 30 minutes on Zach Martin, feel free to drop it in there. But apparently he did not board the team charter yesterday, and that kind of got the nation a little bit riled up. Now, he has till today to report to camp before the fines begin. And yes, there will be fines if he misses practice. I did see something on Twitter, though, the hold in, meaning they're basically saying Zach Martin financially would be silly to miss these practices and cost himself $50K. What he could do is report to the practices and just decide to not practice, aka the hold in. Let's see if he reported earlier, because Dak Prescott did not board the team charter because he was already there, right? Talk about a leader. So maybe Zach was in that same boat. Maybe Zach will just show up today. He's just continuing to try to prove something so the team can give him an extension. I remember he did this almost same exact thing back in 2017 or 18, and then they caved pretty quickly and gave him an extension, rightfully so. That was his first contract. He was younger. There was no questions about it. Now the question is due to the age or what have you, why it's kind of been divided within Cowboys Nation. But we got to keep our ears to the ground on the Zach Martin thing and see if he shows up today and avoids being fined by tomorrow. But Dak Prescott did show up. Dak Prescott has been in Oxnard apparently for the last couple days and is already prepping for training camp, man. Michael Gallup has spoken, we'll get to that in a second too, about the retreat that these guys had and the camaraderie they built, how Dak brought in the Navy SEALs, and just something feels real special about the chemistry these guys have. And I'm excited for that, especially because they got another veteran in that room to help further that chemistry. So, you know, this past game may not take another dip that we were worried it would before they went out and got Brandon Cooks. Injury report. A lot of Todd Archer quotes, tweets today as well. So Todd Archer dropped this injury report in a way, not really a report, but this is what he said. From a health perspective, Jourdan Lewis is looking at opening camp on the physically unable to perform list. Terrence Steele is not expected to be on PUP, but the Cowboys will be smart with him in return. And then Tony Pollard will be good to go. Let's touch on each and every one of those real quick. J. Lou on PUP, I think, was the expected prognosis coming into camp. But that leaves the door open for a few other guys that we'll get to later on in the show. So put a pin in this J. Lou conversation. Great news on my cousin, Terrence Steele, not expected to be on PUP. But if he does, I think it's mostly a precaution as opposed to a setback, because they can technically put him on the PUP. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, that may keep that roster spot open. I might be wrong on that one, though. But nonetheless, if he's on PUP, I don't think it's a major deal looked as a setback, but it's more of a precaution in that sense. And then Tony Pollard, right? Tony Pollard is ready to go, and I think he's going to have a major year, barring, of course, any type of injury. He is going to be the feature back, the undisputed number one back, and the RB2s are the guys that are going to be competing for those Ezekiel Elliott carries, which I think they'll spread out those 220 some touches. I think that'll be spread out among two different backs as opposed to one, AKA a committee approach. And I'm all about that. Now, a name you will not see mentioned here among injury guys is one Michael Gallup. And that's a great thing. Michael Gallup actually sat down or got into the scrum of the reporters, and he talked about his recovering process from his knee injury. This is what Michael Gallup had to say to the scrum out there in Oxnard. He said, Cowboys, or not Cowboys, but mentally it's up to 100%. Last year, obviously, the mentals weren't there. I knew my leg was good. I knew I was straight, but I still had to get over that little hump. I've already rebuilt the confidence. That's why we had OTAs and all that good stuff. I definitely rebuilt it. That really was the main thing about Michael Gallup, right? Was the mental aspect of the ACL injury. I said this maybe right after he tore the ACL. We had Doc on, and I talk about this often when listening to, and it really was Malik Hooker that brought this to my attention here. He kept, because he was an injured guy for most of his career, he kept saying, look, the physical aspect is honestly the easiest part to get over. It's the mental aspect. And Gallup talked about that last year, and he talked about it again yesterday. If he is in fact over that mentally, he can go out there and play fast and play confidently and get back to that peak mental form. I'm not even gonna say peak physical form, because we saw splashes of Michael Gallup in his physical form last year where he wasn't thinking about his knee. He's going up, getting the ball in the end zone. He's making plays off broken plays in the red zone. If I'm not mistaken, he had 3 or 4 touchdowns last year? Somebody help me out there. So you saw some of the old Michael Gallup, but you didn't see it consistently, and you obviously saw more of the negative side of that injury last year. His big hurdle is going to be getting over it mentally, and if he can do that, the Cowboys got a top 5 wide receiver core once again, and I think this passing offense is not going to take a drop. In fact, it's going to increase. It's going to be much better than it was last year, just purely because there's better players, purely because CeeDee Lamb is advancing a year and you have a Brandon Cooks being your wide receiver 2, where Michael Gallup can take advantage of a team's third cornerback or a team's fourth cornerback, depending on how they deploy the receivers out there. So we didn't talk about this yesterday offensively. That's another question too. What Michael Gallup will the Cowboys be getting? That is major. If we're getting Michael Gallup of last year, hesitant, still in his head, not quite back yet, that could spell disaster for him. I don't think it's going to spell disaster for the Cowboys because they still got 2 quality wide receivers, but I think that'll spell disaster for him, and the Cowboys will be moving on a lot quicker, a lot sooner rather than later. But if you're getting Michael Gallup over that mental hump, you're getting a quality wide receiver that any team would like to have in their trio of wide receivers. That's just facts, man. If you go look at his seasons from 2019, 2020, and 2021, Michael Gallup was, prior to the ACL injury, was playing very well. He's playing some good ball, especially given if he was a wide receiver 3 at one point, or when he was wide receiver 2, that's when he was his best production-wise. So I would not write off Michael Gallup just yet until we get a chance to see him out there moving around, and maybe in preseason. I don't know if we're going to see him much in preseason, but maybe in preseason. We'll obviously keep our eyes and ears to the ground on that one too. Who else spoke yesterday? The leader of this defense spoke yesterday. Now, I'm not talking about the line. I'm not talking about him just yet. He is one of the leaders. He's one of them. There's a couple of them. But the undisputed leader of this defense is Jayron Kearse. And they go to Jayron fairly quickly on anything. If they want to talk about the defense, they stick the microphone right in front of Jayron's face and say, hey, man, give us a soundbite. Usually Jayron don't hold back, and he didn't hold back here. It's a long quote by John Machota here on Twitter, but let's read it. This is safety Jayron Kearse on Dallas's defense. The confidence level is definitely high when you got a lot of guys returning, and then you add some other great players. And this is him on potentially being the NFL's best defense. We feel that way every year, but we got to go out there and prove it. We have to prove it every day. We have to think greatness whenever we're doing anything. We're going in the right direction. We're taking the right steps to go out there and be a championship defense and a championship team. We just have to put the work in. Everything else will take care of itself, but we definitely have the formula to get it done. But I appreciate about Jayron. They've asked him this now 2 years in a row about Super Bowl defense and things like that. And he basically said, look, y'all can feel that way, but we have to go out there and do it. You can't be a Super Bowl defense until you actually get to the Super Bowl, right? And as fans, we don't have to really be cautious in how we speak about the team because there's no repercussions. But Jayron understands, look, I can do all this talking, but it doesn't matter. We've got to go out there and prove it. Quote, we got to go out there and prove it every single day. I did like this part, though. We've got to think greatness when we're doing anything. I haven't felt greatness about this defense in a very, very long time until this year. I do feel like this team, this defense, can be great and truly elite. Hold on to that word, truly. I didn't think they were last year. I didn't think they were the year before. We've had good defenses. Those were good defenses. Those were serviceable, respectable defenses, especially when it comes to either A, taking away the ball in 2021, or B, sacking the quarterback in 2022. But truly elite, that has to be something that is consistent from day one to the end of the season. And then sometimes that truly elite defense has to win you a game in the playoffs. Just has to. I feel like this year they can do that. But in order for that to happen, we've got to get contributions from everyone. I talk about this a lot. Depth is important on both sides of the ball across the entire team. And there's no coach in the league that understands that more than Mike McCarthy. When he won the Super Bowl, I believe he won the Super Bowl with the most, at the time at least, the most players on the injured reserve list of any team. So he gets that. And when he first got here, he talked about how it takes, was it 60-something players or 70-something players, including the practice squad. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a duty that they have to execute to get to that championship. And that's kind of where we're going to be at here in today's camp questions regarding defense. Not really talking too much about the starters, about the superstars. It's kind of going to be the depth guys that I got questions about, and we'll get to that here in a second. But I want to hop back into this chat and talk to y'all for a quick. David J said Jayron Kearse is a flat out baller, 100%. I think a lot of people, I mean, I say a lot, a handful of people kind of wrote off Jayron last year. Jayron was playing hurt. He wasn't as good as he was in 2021, but he was still damn good in my opinion. I don't know that I don't know if he'll be here long term due to the way he plays a position. He'll likely continue to get banged up a bit. But when Jayron is available, he is a key cog in this defense, and he's a key leader on this team. I think Jayron's going to have another good season, honestly, flat out. And Jay said he's a godsend on the field and off. The combination of Jayron, Joe Witt, we'll include him, and Dan Quinn is a godsend. 100%. See, Nick says, I think the turnovers are going to come back again for the defense. Yeah. Look, last year, I thought it was right to say, hey, look, this defense could be better, but maybe they'll take a step back in a certain category. And I think all of us thought, hey, turnovers will go from maybe being number 1 to number 5, 6, 7, because it's just hard to be the number 1 team in turnovers back-to-back years. It hadn't happened since the 70s Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. But they did it again. And I don't think that's an accident. I think that is a product of the front 7. And now that you got the back end being as good as they are, I don't see how the Cowboys on our top 5 to 7 team in turnovers again. I won't go as far as say number 1, but I think they'll 100% be up there in turnovers because you just have a ton of pass rushers and a deep secondary, and it's kind of a pick your poison. How do you want to play the Cowboys? You want to get the ball out quick? You want to try to get some long developing routes? Think about getting that ball out quick now. You can't pick on Anthony Brown. You can't pick on Kelvin Joseph. You can't pick on Trayvon Mullins or whoever they got from Costco. That's an all-pro defensive player out there who plays those short routes extremely well, who's an extremely smart player. Yeah, I think those turnovers are definitely going to stick around. Top 3 defense from Peebo. Yeah, I think this would be I think it's a top 3 defense right now. All right, let's get to the first question I have. And I said, making sure y'all hold on to the word truly. Let's get to the first question I have in camp for this defense. Who emerges as the true linebacker 3? Heavy on the word true, y'all. And the reason why I'm saying heavy is because, hear me out. If LVE goes down, which he's done, or if Damone Clark goes down, I think there's going to need to be a linebacker that can play primarily linebacker, do the linebacker things, not I'm playing, nickel safety stuff, or I'm a pass rusher that's just masquerading as a linebacker from time to time. No, the Cowboys are going to need somebody to take over that linebacker role. Last year, it was Anthony Barr who was in tandem with LVE. If LVE went down, you had Barr and you had Damone Clark. So last year, I thought you had 3 true linebackers. This year, DeMarvion Overshown. We talked about this with who was it? We talked about this with Pat. He's a guy that could potentially be your kind of do-it-all guy. Rush the passer, maybe he's big nickel covering. But I don't really think he's going to be your true linebacker year 1. I think they'll ease him in that way. Now, he might show out in camp and show that he is going to be a true linebacker. I'll wait and see on that one. Devin Harper is one of your least versatile guys, I think. I don't think he's a cover guy. He showed some blitzing ability in at Oklahoma State his last year. I think he had something like 6.5 sacks or whatever it was, right? But I don't look at him as a versatile guy. So he's a dude that you can say, well, maybe if Devin Harper shows something, he can be that true linebacker 3. Jabril Cox is a guy that a lot of people think can be a big nickel and be the Jayron Kearse replacement type. But he's been a true linebacker for this team. And Jabril Cox is going to have to show that he can do that, in my opinion. Because if Jabril Cox does not show that, and say a DeMarvion Overshown steps up, Devin Harper steps up, Jabril could be on the damn bubble. Now, that's not the case at the moment. Right now, according to Pat, Jabril Cox is the leader in the clubhouse at linebacker 3. Notice I said linebacker 3, not safety 6, not pass rusher 8, but linebacker. And the Cowboys need somebody to come out of this scrum as the true third linebacker because LVE has injury concerns. And while Damone Clark doesn't necessarily have injury concerns, what if he does get hurt? Who steps in and can maintain the linebacker play? So I think this is a question that I think we all want to see answer here. Let me ask it this way. Who do you want to see emerge as a Cowboys true linebacker 3? I'll ask it that way. Who do you want to see emerge as a Cowboys linebacker 3? Now I'll try to fix something here that I put together. Or maybe I did put it together. All good. Let's see here. Jabril Cox says Miss Myers. Overshown, Clark. Well, so let me say this. I don't view Damone Clark as the third linebacker. I actually view Damone Clark as this is weird because the defense has a Michael Parsons, but as the starter. I view LVE and Damone Clark as your 2 true linebackers. Now, I'd imagine, who said Damone Clark here? Where'd you go? Cowboy Chris. I'd imagine Cowboy Chris, are you factoring in Michael Parsons? If you're factoring in Michael Parsons as the true linebacker, I totally understand this, but I'm not. So I get that. But I got Damone Clark and LVE as your top 2 guys, and I want to see Jabril Cox or Devin Harper kind of step up as that true LB3. Right now, at this moment, I feel like DeMarvion Overshown, Demo, Agent Zero, is more so a versatile guy, more so downhill pass rusher type of guy until we see what happens out there. I'm not confident to say that he's going to be the linebacker 3. And I don't know that, honestly, I don't know if I want to see him emerge as the true linebacker just yet, because I want to see Devin Harper and Jabril Cox, a 3rd round pick and the 5th round pick or what have you, kind of bring something to the table. Where DeMarvion Overshown, I think in year 1, it's okay if he's a sub-package linebacker, and then he can kind of come into his own and take his time. The last thing I want to do is kind of force a guy like Demo who doesn't really have a home just yet, and then he gets out there and he's confused and he's not sure of himself. If he has to be kind of a one-trick pony year 1, that's fine. There's enough guys around him, I think, to help that. But if he has to be forced into that role to be true linebacker 3, I just hope he's ready for it. A lot of people say that, Grayson. Overshown could be the Kearse replacement at some point. Again, that's why I'm interested to see what they do with him. I'm very interested to see what they do with him because he has the safety ability. He has the coverage ability from a man-to-man standpoint. I've seen him kind of get lost in zone, but he can definitely man up. And then we know he can come downhill. Harper's an interesting one too, Peebo. Harper's interesting because he's the guy that doesn't have any of that versatility. And if we talk about bubble, it's not a deep room. So maybe they don't cut any of these draft picks. But if he's a guy that's on the bubble and he doesn't show any versatility, Harper could be the one fighting to stay on this roster. Athletic room, though, I'll tell you that. It's a supremely athletic room, but somebody has to emerge to gain the trust of the front office and the coaches. All right, question number 2. Can Kelvin Joseph and Nahshon Wright fight off the competition? We did a contenders, pretenders type of edition of the show a couple weeks ago with Pat. And one of the questions I posed was Kelvin Joseph and Nahshon Wright, a contender to take J. Lou's spot? And Pat pretty much scoffed at that, pretty much had a good chuckle with that one there. He basically said this isn't a Kelvin Joseph, Nahshon Wright versus J. Lou. This is a Kelvin Joseph versus Kelvin Joseph. And they're experimenting right now with him in the slot because it hasn't worked out on the boundary. And he's been more of an impactful player on special teams. At least last year he was. So that's something that he can continue to build on. Whereas Wright is your primary boundary cornerback that has some special teams experience. But again, in a defense that is holding some value of flexible players, don't know that Wright has a lot of that. I don't even know if Kelvin has it yet because he hasn't been a nickel corner. We're going to see if he can. But a guy that has caught the sparkle of this defense's eye is Eric Scott Jr. I had an audio clip cut up here, but I didn't upload it into the system. But it was Pat who was talking about how, Eric Scott was the guy that got the call up when other cornerbacks were kind of sitting out during OTAs. Eric Scott was the guy that was out there with DaRon Bland, and Kelvin Joseph was still trying to fight to kind of get on that field. Now, when other guys were out, he did some nickel things. That's kind of where they're moving him at right now. He's done some individual drills with the safeties, but according to folks down there, that is more in the lines of that's what the nickel guys do. Jordan Lewis just do the same things because they're asking the nickel guys to kind of do some safety things being close to the line of scrimmage. So I don't know that he's transforming into safety just quite yet. More so nickel. That's the position. But can Wright and Ken Joseph fight off the Eric Scott Jr.'s, the Miles Brooks of the world? They're going to have to. I think this is going to be a heavy competition right here. Last year, very similar competition, and Kelvin Joseph was the last guy on the roster in regards to cornerbacks that made the team, in my opinion, not counting C.J. Goodwin. DaRon Bland, Nashawn Wright, Jordan Lewis, all these guys look better in camp. I don't think Joseph can have the same camp and get out of here alive. He's going to have to stave off competition. Now, with J. Lou expected to start on PUP, it's going to give one of these guys to rise to the occasion. And here's the thing about J. Lou starting on PUP. I think this is a good thing too, by the way. If J. Lou starts on PUP and Eric Scott shows out or Kelvin Joseph shows out or somebody that's going to be a slot guy can rise up, I think I'd keep J. Lou on PUP. Not cutting Jordan Lewis, but if you keep him on PUP, unless his leg or his foot is 100% healthy and he's like, hey, look, man, I'm good. But if you keep it on PUP, he can stay on the team, not count towards the roster, and miss the first 4 games while these young bucks are actually getting those special teams reps. And God forbid any injury, they don't have to get on the field. But if these guys are not, and Jordan Lewis is ready, and I don't gotta, hey, J. Lou, that foot still hurt, right? If I don't have to do that to him, then you can just bring him off PUP. J. Lou becomes your 4th cornerback, and he's your depth guy, your backup on the inside, because right now DaRon Bland is the guy. But if we can get a DaRon Bland type of performance from Eric Scott Jr., hell, I'll take a DaRon Bland preseason camp performance from Kelvin Joseph. He hasn't had that yet. If we can get that makes this room much deeper. And you can utilize some smart roster gymnastics by keeping J. Lou on the team without counting towards the roster and putting him on PUP. Because again, 17 games plus playoffs. You hope it's at least 20 games, right? It's going to be a season of who can remain the healthiest heading into the playoffs. I'm keeping all the good bodies I can if they're warranted to keep around. So it could be a blessing in disguise if he stays on PUP, because somebody rolls up. But if nobody steps up in his absence, then you probably got to bring J. Lou back. Similar question. Who do you want to see rise to this occasion with Jordan Lewis out here? I got an answer that might surprise you, but I want to see what y'all say first. Who do you see, or who do you want to see rise to the occasion with Jordan Lewis out on PUP? Because it's going to be a 4-way battle here. I'm going to go with Kelvin Joseph. Look, man, I do not want to see this second round pick fail so early in his career. I don't. You're talking about a waste of a second rounder. And Pat said something very interesting. He said, look, if Kelvin Joseph was truly going to be the guy here at any of these positions, they would have never drafted an Eric Scott Jr. He was drafted because Kelvin didn't rise up. So I don't want to just waste this second round pick because it feels like it's a waste already because he's a special teams guy. So when I say who do you want to see rise up, it's my second round pick. I can wait another year on Eric Scott Jr. Nashawn Wright, you could argue him as well because he was a third rounder. Miles Brooks, he's an undrafted guy. I'll probably get him on the practice squad. But I've put too high of assets to a Kelvin Joseph to just see it fail. So I want to see him rise up and say, hey, I deserve to be on this team. I'm making plays. You can trust me if somebody goes down. Because none of that is the case right now. So I got Kelvin Joseph. I know, Myers. I know. But I'm rooting against that. I'm rooting for him to not be who he was last year. You know what I'm saying? Tino said it's already a waste. He's done. But you understand where I'm coming from, right? Y'all understand where I'm coming from. I'm still until he proves it otherwise, I'm still of the ilk that he is the last guy on this roster at cornerback until he proves me otherwise. But that's what I want him to do. I want him to prove to me and to the world that, hey, man, if J. Lou is out or if Deron Bland goes down or if somebody else goes down, you can count on me because that makes this team much better. People say KJ needs some milk. Maybe some mental milk. Maybe some mental milk. We got Lois on the horn, Cowboys Nation. Let's hear from our guy Lois. What's good, bro?
Yo, good morning, Scott, man. I hope you're having a great morning. It's only 7 more Sundays till football, man. So
hey, for me,
let's get going.
For me, it's only 24 hours. When camp starts, football is here. The season is officially has begun.
Yeah, exactly. And you and Voch, y'all enjoy it out there, man. I know y'all always do some great work and breaking everything down for us.
We got to get the volume. We got to get the volume to get it going here. But I hope we out there, brother.
All right, brother. But, hey, just real quickly, man, just 2 quick points of talking about this defense and what I'm kind of looking for in the camp is,
okay.
My first point is, y'all were talking about linebackers, and there's 3 I just kind of want to see these 3 names out there and see what if they can step up to where they were last year, or is it kind of like, man, I don't know what we're going to do with these guys. And, well, first off, it's Overshown. We barely drafted the guy. I don't expect too much of him. But I do expect him to at least be used on the field for what he can provide in the run game or, et cetera. And I do expect Cox and Clark to at least show something because, man, don't get me wrong, LVE is a great player. I like he's a good, solid football player. But, man, it's just his neck. I don't know what it is. It's a giraffe neck or I don't know, but that worries me, man. Like, I feel like it takes one bad contact and there goes your linebacker, too, for, the year. So I just want to see what Cox and Clark can do when LVE goes down, correct? And the last thing but not least is... Well, we saw that last year a little bit, right? When Clark went down, when LVE went down, Damone Clark had to come in and it was a bit of some struggles because he was new to being the guy, and he played much better when LVE or Anthony Barr was in the lineup. But, from everything we know and hear about Damone Clark, he's a fast learner. He's a heady player. He has the athletic ability. He has the mental processing. It's just a matter of continuing to play out there. So I believe in Damone. Gotcha. And my last thing is talking about the cornerbacks is we already know who's going to be your 3 out there. It's going to be Diggs, Gallimore, and Bland, right? What I think if you're going to hit on the cornerback 4, whoever's going to take that position, it's going to be like they earned that position, And my thing is I don't know what we're going to do with Jordan Lewis. I'm kind of tired of him. But if you were to ask me, I would probably just, push him during the camp. See if he can even play the slot. Because my idea would be putting the Bland outside and seeing if Jordan Lewis can cover the slot. Because that way, in case you were to, mix and match, you can put Bland Lewis and
Hold on. Let me
Trayvon Diggs out there.
Let me slow down here. I'm a bit confused. Are you saying you want to put DaRon Bland on the outside to see if Jordan Lewis can play the slot?
Correct. Because I kind of
hold up.
I kind of already
hold up because I'm confused. So Trayvon Diggs and Gilmore are outside. You understand that, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. Okay. So you can't put Bland out there unless it's barring injury. If an injury happens, then he goes out there, right?
Copy. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then you said you want to see if Jay Lou can come. I mean, Jordan Lewis has been a slot corner his whole career, so you know he can do slot things.
Gotcha. Yeah. My concern is like, well, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're going to take some plays off, but let's say, I'm not saying worst comes to show. Like, let's say Diggs or Gilmore has to be out of a play, right? Like, they have to take 2 or 3 plays off or whatever for some reason. I just want to see if Jay Lou can, like, or one of these guys can cover for one of these guys whenever they have to miss a play. Because, I feel like that's going to be our kind of our kryptonite. One of these cornerbacks go down, and, that kind of. So
you don't believe in the depth? I mean, that's the point for me having Jordan Lewis. I think that you have great depth. We saw DaRon Bland play outside. I think DaRon Bland's a stud. So I feel great about him if he has to go play outside. I actually hope he's kind of our future outside guy. But that's a whole different discussion. So you got you got DaRon Bland, you got the big three: DaRon Bland, Gilmore, and Diggs. If any one of those guys go down, DaRon Bland can take on the outside. If DaRon Bland goes down, Jay Lou can step in. So are you a little bit concerned that you're concerned about the depth at cornerback right now?
Correct. Yeah, I'm just a little concerned. I'm not saying it's blinking red lights, but like I'm saying, if one of these goes down, it's kind of a concern because one of these things in today's NFL is that quarterbacks want to pass the ball, and I think our primary strength right now is we're gonna take that shit away, right? Not sorry for me cussing, but the way the way Cowboys are constructed is we are built to rush the passer, keep the corners clean for at least 3 seconds and let that passer get to the quarterback. And if we felt like one of those things, it's kind of like I don't know.
Last question on depth. Who are you concerned about depth wise?
DaRon Bland? I'll probably say DaRon Bland.
Ooh.
No, not DaRon Bland. I'm probably more concerned about Gilmore, in all honesty. Yes, he's an all-pro cornerback.
I meant if somebody goes down, like you said, you're concerned about the depth. Who? Because I'm guessing it's a player or players. Which one of the players is it? Is it DaRon? Is it Jay Lou? You're concerned about?
It'll probably be a mix. It'll probably be Bland and Gilmore. If those two guys go down, I'm just really concerned. Like I don't know who's gonna fill the void.
Well, I tell you what,
but
bro.
yeah, that's all I got, guys.
Gotcha, man.
That's all I got. Sorry for taking too much of your time, but I just hope that no matter what happens, this Cowboys team can overcome what they do, and we got a squad, guy. It's been a while since we had a defensive squad, but hey, let's rock with it, and it's better than that. And let's go whoop some ass this camp, man. I want to see some fights, man.
Sure.
But yeah, that's all, man. Peace out.
All right, salute, Lois. A little surprising there. That's the first time I've heard concern over the depth at corner. I thought DaRon Bland held it together very well in his rookie year. I think he's going to be much better. I think he has inside-outside ability. And then again, if Jordan Lewis is my fourth corner, how many cornerback fours have the resume or as good as Jay Lewis? I'm not saying Jay Lewis is an amazing guy, right? But on most teams, Jordan Lewis is your slot guy. If he's your fourth guy, I like that. That's one of the positions I'm most excited about depth-wise. If somebody were to go down, we have the ability to step in. If you're nervous about it this year, boy, what was you nervous about last year? AB, was your quarterback too. We didn't know shit about no DaRon Bland, right? 5th round pick, we ain't know. He was playing well, but we ain't know. Hell, we was here talking about he might be a third best corner because of how well he was playing, but we didn't see it yet on the actual NFL field. But I don't know. I feel good about this cornerback room, man. Maybe more than any room. Maybe defense end, that's it. Defense end might be the only other position I feel better about on this entire team. from a depth standpoint. So interesting. DP, are you with me? What's good, man?
What's up, Skywalker? Long time no talk.
Long time, but I know you always tuned in, good brother.
Oh yeah, man. What got weird on me, know what I mean? So I ain't been catching too many live shows, but I woke up early today and said I'm gonna go ahead and tune in. Then I seen the line and I said, oh what, let me go ahead and holler at Skywalker one time.
I'm with it, man. What's up with you? What's on your mind?
Well, I'm hearing the conversation about the defenses. It's really kind of weird to me to hear people, that last caller that's talking about questioning the cornerback depth. Kind of blew my mind a little bit. But I'm with you on J. Lou. For $4 million, you do not cut a veteran with as much experience as he has, who has literally played every DB spot in the backfield.
Yeah.
For your team. You don't cut that for $4 million of cap space. Like, I'll be honest with you. It's a Liz Frank. That's a hard injury to heal up, a real easy injury to re-aggravate. I'm with letting J. Lou sit for the first month of the season.
Right. So DP, did you hear me earlier about the pup thing?
Yeah, we gotta just let him sit on pup. Let him sit on pup.
I'm with that.
Because quite honestly, and I said this in the chat a little earlier, for as much as we beat him up because of the gap between Trey and our depth pieces, Nahshon Wright is not a bad young cornerback. He didn't do bad when he got his snaps. Matter of fact, Nahshon Wright in the one start he got his interception.
Yeah, that was
So how you gonna flip it? You know what I mean? Now it wasn't playing against a great quarterback. I'm not gonna act like that. But hell, it was the one shot he got. So you gotta go ahead and give him credit for it.
I give him credit for the intercept. That game was weird for Nahshon Wright though, because it wasn't technically a good cover game. He gave up a ton of yards in that game, but he did. What I like about Nahshon Wright, bro, much more than I like about Kelvin Joseph, is Nahshon Wright is going to fight. He's going to go 110%. And as a boundary guy, I think there's more there from a measurable standpoint. And I know he's going to put in the work, and I don't got to question that. But at the end of the day, can you get it done for me? I wouldn't rank him in the top, 4 corners, but I get what you're saying. I think there's something more there for me with Nahshon than Kelvin at this moment.
To be honest with you, I think we're going into the season. Is he cornerback 4?
That'll be
interesting. I think that J. Lou probably is going to start the season on pup. You know what I mean? And dude's already safety for. He might as well just call him. You know what I mean? The X back, bro, because you ain't no telling where he's gonna plug.
Facts.
He might plug in that umbrella. He might plug in that corner.
Let's call him DB4.
DB4.
DB4. You know
with it.
what I'm saying? He can fill in, and that's, we talked about this yesterday on Vach's show. Dan Quinn absolutely loves having one of these kind of flexible guys at each level of the field. You got Micah Parsons, right?
Yeah.
On the defensive line. You got, now they drafted DeMarvion Overshown, who got flex. At safety, you got a guy like Jayron Kearse. So you need a 6-man that can do some of these things. And Izzy shown last year with his newfound physicality, that if you need me to go in the slot, I can do it. I've got experience playing on the boundary, and now I'm a safety. So Izzy's kind of that DB4 flex guy that can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I don't know if a lot of the bomb squad caught Boss and Law and all them boys that was down at SportsCon. Hooker was gushing about Izzy, about Bell, Wanye, all them young boys behind him. He said his room is crazy.
It is. I think it's the best in the league.
Man, like hands down. Like anybody sleeping on our safeties, I'm just gonna go watch any game film on Hooker you want to. If that man touch you, he karate-size people, bro. Hooker lay people out in the middle of the field, in the end zone, in the backfield, wherever he touched somebody, they lay down.
I was a bit shocked that on Twitter there was, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was like a Hooker outrage because shout out to my guy Brian, but Brian is not a believer in him, and a lot of people kind of was riding that wave of not believing in Malik Hooker. But I'm like, hey, if you go look at his film the last 2 years he's been with Dallas, I think it's better than his other careers when he was in there with Indianapolis. He's a better tackler now. He still has the range, but what Dan Quinn was asking Malik Hooker to do was not easy. It just wasn't. There wasn't too many times where Hooker could just play half field and utilize that range to get a ton of interceptions. Hooker's job, much like KZ in year one, was keep everything in front of you. I'm not really asking you to break on the ball and make a bunch of plays. Just keep everything in front of you. And then when I ask you to come down and make tackles, do that well. And Malik Hooker was top 10 in the league in missed tackle percentage last season at free safety. So I think he does a fantastic job at his job.
Free safety that run the alley like Malik Hooker right now.
That do what?
Find me a free safety that come down here like Malik Hooker against the run right now.
A free is going to be tough. And I'm shocked because I didn't peg him as a guy that did that.
Free safety that's running the alley like Malik go full speed ahead and run smack right into you at the spot every time you going down.
And I watched him line up at the line of scrimmage and make plays in the backfield or at the LOS. So
yeah, Malik is a complete safety. You know what I mean? Dono is a complete safety. You know what I mean? People don't, because of his hard-hitting style and the fact that he does have a knack for making plays in the backfield like his 5 sacks he got last year. You know what I mean? People think about Dono as a line of scrimmage dude. You know what I mean? Dono spends half his stats playing free safety.
Yes. I actually had to give him – I think Donovan Wilson is one of the most underrated flex guys the Cowboys have. We usually talk about Jayron like that, but Dono throughout his career and even with the Cowboys, he's played last year. He played some roof stuff. He's played back there in halves and he done well. Go look at the Washington game. He made a crazy play downfield. I think it was on either Scary Terry or one of their other young wide receivers where they did the halves. They hardly do this, but they played the cover 2. They did the halves and he broke. He saw the play going deep on the 9 route, and he broke back and made a play deep downfield. He can do that for you. I'm not saying that's what he should do full time, but Donovan Wilson is a versatile safety.
Yeah, Dono's one of them dudes, man. Like he's a true see it and go. You know what I mean? Like when he sees that ball going up, when he see that ball go up, he can get to that spot. He going. You know what I mean? It's been times he's supposed to be in coverage, but he sees a quarterback spill out, and I can get there before you see me coming. He knock him out. That's what he do. He's a playmaker. You know what I mean? He been hit man when he was young in the league. He still hit man. He's good.
And he's an elite blitzer. I'm glad they tapped back into that last year.
Yeah, he got them 5 sacks. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, don't sleep because just revert back to the earlier part of the conversation. J. Lou, at the end of his rookie year, benched AB. He was the starter on the right side. But then they brought in Rashard, and he benched J. Lou for being a half inch shorter than AB. So even when AB had his career year, Jordan Lewis had 3 picks and 3 sacks from the slot. Don't y'all sleep on Jordan Lewis.
Yeah, I'm not moving off of J. Lou because I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, right? If I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, I'm trying to put the best roster together. And Jordan Lewis can be a part of that, especially as a depth guy.
Yeah, as a 4th or 5th corner, you don't get rid of that. Bro.
Nah, not for no $4 million, bro. Not for $4 million.
No, you don't get rid of that. No. And here's one thing I really did want to call in and say, bro. In my opinion, the biggest signing we had as far as bringing guys back was Jonathan Hankins, and that got magnified when we selected Mozzie Smith.
Yeah.
Bro, Jonathan Hankins dropped our yards per carry against by like 0.8 when he joined the team mid-season.
See if I still got it.
So you can do a full off-season and training camp with the team. Oh, and guess what? We just brought in a new baby brother for you to teach. And do you see the way he gushes about playing with Mozzie? He can't wait.
Yeah.
Bro, if we can hold opponents under 4 yards per carry, nobody's going to be able to throw the ball against this team, bro.
And force them, right? Not oh well, you know what, we outscoring them so they don't got to run the ball. No. We make them not be able to run the rock. That changes everything.
Yeah, that's different. It's one thing when you create a game scenario that forces a team to throw. It's another thing when you just line up and say, "Bitch, I wish you would."
Right. Look, DP, we was living on a hope creed. We hope
Yeah,
they
he
don't
was like,
run
I
the
hope they
ball.
drop back and pass.
We hope they drop back
We
and
hope.
pass. Instead, we would be living on a
No.
wish creed. We wish a mother
Yeah.
would run the ball on us.
Yeah. Because, look, we're going to have Hank and Mozzie. Still got Osa. Still got Chauncey. Both going to be pissed off. And now he got something else to prove all over again. I mean, he thought he had got good last year. But I like that. Let's keep a chip on your shoulder. I'm sorry. I think that was done. But I like our defensive line. I like the way it's shaping up. I really think our linebackers are going to have an opportunity to show their legs this year. With the defensive line group that we got, we should be able to see all of these 4-4 and 4-5 athletes flying around on the second level, and I think that alone should help improve our run defense as well as our pass defense with all the zone coverage that we play.
I agree, DP. Hey, look, fantastic call, man. Always good to hear from you. I definitely want to touch more on some of this, man. Appreciate you.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Salute. DP, when they come to the line of scrimmage, hey Mozzie, hey, Hankins, where you from? We wish in Woods. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the perfect analogy for what I meant by, hey, look, man, we've seen this under Rod Marinelli. Oh, the Cowboys ranked in the top 5 in rush yards, but that's because wasn't nobody running. We made teams have to throw because we were a high-flying, high-scoring offense. But when you can come to the line of scrimmage and you can say you can't run, it's a whole different ball game, ladies and gentlemen. Whole different ball game. Yes, sir, Professor. Hey, look, I'm gonna be using that until the season starts because I think there's this misunderstanding by some about Jonathan Hankins and his importance. That stat right there should show you it. And if you want to go even deeper, just go watch Jonathan Hankins against the 49ers. Just go watch Big Hank against the 49ers if you need to see his importance against the run. Go watch what they did when he was out there. Nothing. That's why you go out and get a Mozzie Smith to pair him with it. Because, yes, Hank can't do it on his own. Now you got Mozzie. Maybe Hank don't got to play 30, 35 plays now. Maybe it's 22 to 27. When Mozzie can do the other. And then you're going to probably get about 10 to 11 plays of both of them on the field. Come on, man. How can you not get amped about this defense? Which takes me to my last question. So much depth, right? So much talent. How would a numbers game play out? Now, this might be a combo question because you can include the offense, but somebody is going to get left out. It could potentially be a veteran. A lot of people in Cowboys Nation are bringing up guys like Dante Fowler. I don't want it to be Dante Fowler, but that's a name that's been brought up. We just talked about Jordan Lewis. There's a sector of the nation I want to see Jordan Lewis go. Neville Gallimore, to me, is public enemy number one when it comes to that. He leads the charge in, hey, if we got to make a numbers game, a roster gymnastic move, it's Neville. Because Neville ain't a one tech, and he's not one of your better 3 techs, at least at this moment. Now, he's going to have a nuclear camp, in my opinion. He's going to have a Tristan Hill type of camp. Tristan Hill was Neville Gallimore last year, a guy on the bubble. They drafted his replacement essentially the year after he got drafted. And then the next year they drafted Osa. Well, they drafted Neville, and the next year they drafted Osa, and the next year they drafted Mozzie, or 2 years later they drafted Mozzie. So Neville Gallimore is kind of on the outs right now. So he's got to have a good camp. If Neville Gallimore has a camp like last year where he's playing in the 4th preseason game, 3rd preseason game, injuries might save him. Can't have that. If he's going, now we're not doing any joint practices, but if he can't breathe because his check engine light is on, can't have that. Other names that have been brought up for roster gymnastics. Kelvin Joseph, talk about him. Jabril Cox, Quentin Bohanna. I personally believe Quentin Bohanna has more of a direct path to the team than Neville. They got to pick and choose what they're going to do with Neville because he's, I love what Vaj says, when you're good, you're a flex player, right? When you're not so good, they call you a tweener. Neville fits in that tweener category, right? Bohanna showed some ability to be flex because he was doing 3-tech things last year. But he is a 350-pound, put you in front of the center, disrupt the line of scrimmage, cause the car accident type of player. And before his injury, like we talked about the other day, he was doing that. And I think he was doing that pretty damn well. I thought he was more of an underrated player early on in the season at that position. I mean, I said this before. I didn't think it was always the interior early on when the run game was giving us trouble. A lot of big plays were happening on the edge. I think that could be fixed with the combination of things. Your DTs now allowing some of these edge guys to be more disciplined in their sets. Having a guy like Sam Williams out there more often. We know D-Law is D-Law. But I personally think Bo, if they'd elect to keep 3 bigs, which I would do, I would love to keep 3 big 1-techs, 330, 40 plus pound dudes on this team to make sure you're always going to have these guys out there to help stop the run. And they say, hey, Bo, we don't need you to do 3-tech things much anymore. Just use that strength and that mountain of a body to hold up the line of scrimmage, penetrate, disrupt your keys so these linebackers can roam free. I think Bo can do it. So I think he has a direct path, a better path to the team than Neville Gallimore does. But both of them could be on the outs if they don't elect to keep 3 bigs like 3 1-techs. So I think that is a question that will need to be answered. How will this numbers game play out? This is the defense is the strength of your team. So do they elect to go long defensively and short, say, receiver, say, running back, offensive line, tight end? So I'm going to keep our eye on. So those are my 3 questions, man. How will the numbers game play out? Can Kelvin Joseph and Nashawn Wright fight off the competition? And who emerges as a true linebacker 3? Most of these questions are about depth because I think the starters don't have the starters / role players. Some of the integral parts of this defense, those role players, I don't think there's many questions there. We can get into, hey, well, a Sam Williams start over a Dorrance Armstrong. That's a question that could be had, right? But nonetheless, both of those guys are going to play. They're going to play a lot. But some of these dudes that we talked about today might not make this team, might not be active on game day. Those were the questions that were on my mind. All right, let's finish up the show talking to you guys on the phone. Let's get D Shift on the horn. What's good, D Shift?
What's good, bro? Good morning, bro.
Good morning.
Just a couple comments for certain things you were talking about. Got a interesting, well, not interesting, but I got a question, man. Something that interested me with the linebacker depth. Would you say there's like a shift in the way teams are approaching how they invest in the depth at the linebacker position?
Because of the passing league?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a shift in how they're drafting them. How many they deploy, I think that depends on the scheme you run. But I think if you were to look at the measurables, the size, the athletic requirements from, say, 2005 will be different than now. Most of these linebackers are sub 240, sub 235. They're faster, they're more athletic, and they're required to be more versatile. Where back then you're looking at 245, 250. You need to stop the run. That was your number one priority. Not saying it's not now, right? But they're asking these linebackers to be a tad bit more versatile because it's a passing league. So I would say there's a shift in how they are scouting and drafting them. But I don't know. I have to look at the statistics across the league and how they're deploying them from a roster standpoint.
Right, because as much concern as we have at linebacker, and I guess that's why I thought they were gonna draft something more traditional versus like an Overshown in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
They just have maybe it's something that they're trying to transition to, past, what they did with Leighton and Jaylen. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, are Damone and Leighton kind of sharing a workload, right? Because if you have maybe one traditional linebacker on the field when you're playing a lot of 3 DBs, right? Are they kind of sharing the workload to where the point that you don't see the need to have that third guy to be as competent as, I guess, as we think we need them to be, right?
I mean, if
you
you had no,
and you're concerned.
There you go. That is mainly the reason why I brought that question up, is because there's injury concerns with a guy like LVE. And if there's injury concerns with a guy like LVE, you need to make sure you have some quality depth behind him. If the question is, hey, is the third linebacker as important from a playing standpoint? Probably not, because you're not going to play a bunch of 3 linebackers. And if you are playing a bunch of 3 linebackers, guess who that third linebacker likely is? Micah Parsons. So I think there's two sides to that.
Okay. And then also, I mean, with your your DTs, man, it's really a good position. I just hope Mozzie gets that chance to where he doesn't get tacoed. And Taco, the biggest indictment on him is the fact that he couldn't overstep guys like Charles Tapper and Benson Mayowa, So I think Mozzie has a kind of a harder sled, sled to try to travel, taking out a guy like Hankins and ultimately just taking over that spot. And I know you're not off the bat looking at it that way, but for me, just first round investment, just more hopes and thinking how much better your team can be versus having anxiety like that. Mozzie would be a bust off the bat. I ain't gonna be that guy.
I tell you what,
but just hope that
about Taco. Taco's mental was probably his number one issue. He just he didn't want to be here. He had an attitude problem. If you talk to people, Taco just didn't fit. And then obviously they kind of isolated him. The whole hot boy thing, which is so corny to me, but the whole hot boy thing didn't work out. Plus, he was in an uphill battle. They drafted him and for whatever reason decided to throw him at right defensive end. That he's a 6'6", 275-pound left DE. He's a run-stopping type of guy that can, develop into some pass rush things. But Taco, it was just a bad pick, right? Come on, man. TJ Watt was right there. The pass rushing guy to complement DeMarcus Lawrence was right there. But Mozzie, I don't think will fall into the Taco because I don't think he's going to be asked to play out of position, number one. And number two, his mentality is completely different of a Taco Charlton. If they didn't go to the same school, I don't think we'd be even talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I guess final comment, man. Who's our LA Knight on the team, man? Getting all the pop, getting proper push, but we're still waiting, man.
Do we have to wait?
I'll leave you with that.
No, Shiv, hold on. Nah. Do we have to wait till camp?
Yeah.
Do we have to wait till camp to figure out who our LA Knight is? Because there really hasn't been much push in that type of push, right? There's tangible push, and what can we really get from OTAs, right? So can we ask this question in 2 weeks? I love it. I love the question.
Yeah, we'll save it. We'll save it, bro.
Yeah. Come back to it in 2 weeks, and I'll have your LA Knight comp.
All right, dog. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Have a good day.
You as well. I almost came out and said Deuce, right? But I can't say that yet because in OTAs, not really doing much of anything, right? I mean, I shouldn't say not doing anything. They're trying to implement what they're going to be doing at camp, at least in mini camp. But we're not getting a lot of footage from that. It's just pictures, kind of just hearing some things here and there. Oh, we're going to see the push. We're going to see the push at camp. We're going to see the videos. We're going to see, inside training camp. We'll be reporting here starting actually Thursday with Pat Nosey Walker. We'll be getting the hopefully my footage, right, as we're down there. But if not, there'll be tons of other fans and content creators that will be down there. .com will have it, and then we'll be able to see who really gets that push. Love the question, though. If you're not familiar with LA Knight,
let me talk to you.
He's the hottest thing going right now on SmackDown. Outside of the bloodline. All right, let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 more. And we'll wrap this thing up. Let's talk to Twan from Connecticut. What's good, Twan?
What's good, Scott? How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother.
Yeah, that's good to hear, bro. I'm just here to say I'm ready. I'm ready for football to start. Mozzie is going to be a great run stopper. I feel real confident about us. Neville Gallimore is out of here. I also think Kevin Joseph is out of here. How do you feel about that?
I have if right now, if you say Sky, gun to my head, what do you think about Kelvin Joseph? I do have him on the outs because how can I not? How can I watch what happened last year at the cornerback position where he finished literally at the end of the depth chart? We had guys like Trayvon Mullen come in and get playing time over him. Nashawn Wright jumped him. Xavier Woods jumped him. So at this moment, I can't dispute that. However, my hope, right? And here I go living on a hope creed. My hope is that Kelvin Joseph makes me change my tune. And we say, nah, man, we can't let go of KJ, man. He's balling out there.
Man, that's shit. I ain't even gonna lie. I don't believe that, but I ain't mad at you for thinking like that. I really think he's out of here, and I really think we're gonna have a top 3 defense this year, Scott. And to be honest, this is one of our best chances to go at it, to go at the Super Bowl. It honestly is. 16 was it. I feel like 16 was it. 18 was a little shaky. And then now
14 too.
Like
I truly believe 14. We can
14. 14. I honest to God, I do. It's just, you feel me? We ran in the Aaron Rodgers.
And let me not sleep on 07 either, bro.
You felt like we could have won in 07?
Bro, we was 13-3. We was if if T.O. don't kind of get banged up a little bit towards the end of that year, and he was a little bit more healthier. Yeah.
I ain't mad at that. I'm also predicting about anywhere between 33 to 37 takeaways for the defense this year as well. I still feel the same way about the defense and the takeaways. Micah Parsons, my prediction on his sacks, I want to say 17. And Sam Williams, I want to give him 8 to 10. That's how good I feel about this defense.
Yeah, I think this team could. You remember last year the Eagles had like 4 dudes with double digits. I think the Cowboys might not have 4, but they'll have maybe 5 or 6 guys that got like 6+ sacks. Maybe I'll go 6 guys, right? Dante Fowler, D-Law, Sam Williams, Dorrance Armstrong, Micah Parsons, and wouldn't be shocked if Osa Odigizua was that 6th guy.
Yeah, I want to see more from him. So yeah, I definitely want to see that. But I ain't gonna keep you all day, Sky, man.
Yes,
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Have a good one.
You as well, bro. Appreciate you. Let's get to Marcus. What's good, brother? And look, man, don't say nothing now to get us canceled and shut the stream down. My man Marcus came over here talking about booger sugar, and next thing you know, error.
I'm proud of that. Hey, man, I am not about that life. Them people is for real. Them people out here, them people for real. I'm not trying to have that in my life neither, yo. I'm not trying to have that. I took care of that before I got on, so I'm all right.
All right, bro. What's up with
you? Hey, man, real quick, you know, the interesting thing about depth, what that says to me about it on the defensive side, man, again, that starts from the top down. Dan Quinn has been in charge from day one, and he knows what he wants. He's put together a great defense and a great defensive system, and so it's easy to find holes to plug, and it's easy for us as, you know, fans, casual or not, to watch and see what happens and who can play where and stuff like that. And it's fun to do all this speculating about it because we know at the end of the day, the right guy is going to get the job.
Yeah.
So at least that's what I feel like. As it pertains to the D-line, I want to focus on them, even though we kind of started out talking about the linebackers. I think how the linebackers are going to play is going to depend on how well the defensive line plays. And I think I like Neville Gallimore, but I think between him and Bohannon's going to probably edge him out, only because we saw the impact Jonathan Hankins had when he got here on the run defense.
Yes.
And continue to have on it. We saw that instantly. And Hankins, I know he's like 33 or something like that, so he may have a year or two
No,
left.
Hankins, I think, is 31, maybe 30, 31. I think he's turning 31 now. So he's actually younger than I expected. Yeah, let me get that for you.
Yeah. Well, that's even better because, again, he's going to be, a staple. I don't know what kind of contract situation he's got, but he's going to be a kind of staple. And as it pertains to the depth of the line, again, you got guys in place that make the defense silent, so it's easy to groom the guys behind them into doing the job that's in front of them because they can learn from somebody. We talk about that on the offense with Brandon Cooks. Like a Jalen Tolbert learning how to play, how to do certain things because of veterans over there, a high-level veteran, not just some guy that's been in the league, but a guy that's performed at a high level. And you got a guy like Hankins doing one-tech things at a high level.
Yes.
That helps the guy that you drafted. Yeah, drafted this year in Marty Smith as a one-tech, and Bohannon last year as a one-tech. The year before, you draft Bohannon to be a one-tech. But you got a guy actually coming in here showing you how you stop the run. That's how you build depth because you got guys that can do the job. Then you can bring guys along behind them. Hey, this is how you do this job. If you want it, this is how you got to do it. So that's what I like about that. That kind of
hold that point because that is so critical. When Dan Quinn got here, and again, this is his third year, so he's kind of already he's getting into the mix of establishing what he truly wants to do. When Dan Quinn got here, it was Brent Urban that was that veteran guy that could stop the run, that was trying to teach some of these guys on the roster like a not Jonathan Hankins, but a Quentin Bohanna. But what happened? Brent got hurt early. Brent got put on IR, and he couldn't really be around to help those guys, day in, day out. So now you're really not playing with any true run-stopping defensive tackle type guys that are veterans that know how to stop the run. How many times have I said this, Marcus? You can be a run stopper in college because that you're learning how to stop the run there. But a lot of people don't come into this league knowing how to because either A, that wasn't their primary duty, or B, they was playing maybe in a conference where it was a whole bunch of spread or what have you. And even if you were pretty solid at it, you've got to kind of relearn a little bit of that in the league if you're not one of the elite guys. Bohanna really didn't have that. There wasn't no true one tech on his team to learn from. Salute to Calvin Watkins. Salute to Carlos Watkins. Carlos Watkins is not a one tech. He was playing both.
Yeah,
he was a tweener, but there wasn't that one tech. Then they go out and they get a Jonathan Hankins, and I promise you, all the things you're talking about, learning and the nuances. Go watch him in that Niners game. You just saw him, just the torque of his body, the creating a lane for his guy, or one arm standing up a dude peeking and shedding. Like he was doing little things that it's like, damn, that's how you stop the run. And now you can teach that to a Mozzie and teach that to a Bohanna. You could see improvement just by having him on this roster because there wasn't a Hankins on this roster under Dan Quinn.
Right, exactly, and that's how you, exactly, man. That's how you get that continuity. That's how you get that consistency. That's how you don't get that drop off because you got a guy that's established, that's doing it at a high level. You got another, then you can create a rotation. You got another guy coming in behind him. You don't overwork him because you got another guy coming in and do the same thing because he watched the guy in front of him do it that way. So he got the ability to do it himself in Bohanna. So because Bohanna didn't do a bad job, but again, he didn't have anybody to learn from. You could tell him this is the job to do, but like you say, if it's better to learn it from somebody that's out there doing it.
Yeah, he showed improvement. Bohanna before the injury was an improved player in camp and in the regular season.
Right. Exactly. So that's what I like about that, and that's kind of edging Neville out to me in terms of that depth issue. Real quick, and I'll go. What that reminds me of is back in the day with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. It kind of went under the radar because they were at trying to get Tom Brady signed after that first contract. They had won those Super Bowls up there, and Belichick kind of went hemmed and hawed like he wasn't going to pay Tom Brady at the time, which he was going to do. But the thing he did do that kind of went under the radar at the time was he had Vince Wilfork. Y'all talk about that trash can full of dirt guy just stick in the middle of the defense and leave him there. He went and signed Vince Wilfork long term. It didn't make headlines, didn't make any splash news, but he signed that guy because that guy was in the way. Vince Wilfork was going to be over the nose, in the middle of the line, causing that pile up. And it made his defensive front multiple. It's why he didn't value. It's why he didn't value defensive ends that way. You know, because he could manufacture that pass rush, but he had to control in the middle of the line of scrimmage. So that's my whole point with that, Sky. So good stuff, man. I'm gonna keep these people out y'all like, because I know they watching, and I'm gonna handle my business on my own next time. So thanks for taking the call.
Good stuff, Marcus. Appreciate you, man. Marcus always brings some good stuff to the stream, and great callback on Vince, man. Vince Wilfork. Is he in the Hall of Fame conversation yet? Did he get the nomination or whatnot? Because he probably should, man. Vince, multiple time Super Bowl winner, one of the best nose tackles of his era. Not always going to have the gaudy stats, but he did his job at the highest level of anybody in the National Football League while he played. And just a great kind of analogy there, in the sense of saying, you know, he didn't need to pay those guys. That's why you saw a guy like Chandler Jones and all those type of dudes kind of keep it moving, because you can have a guy like Vince to kind of make things like life easier for you around them. And I don't know how many times we've said this about, not just during the Dan Quinn era, but prior to the Dan Quinn era, get some guys on the interior that can push that pocket. Micah Parsons came out and practically begged you, hey man, go give me Deron Payne. Look what Ray Lewis had. Look what, you know what I mean? Get me these guys that can push the pocket from the interior, and watch it make our lives easier. And I think it will. Dan, you got Hankins now and Mozzie, and let's continue to keep adding to it. Somebody called, was it you, Rolo? Y'all know how y'all be calling Mark? Y'all be calling Marcus Michael Irvin. Somebody called him the AI Michael Irvin. Oh, bro. That AI crazy. I saw on TikTok they did like an AI Eminem and who was it? K-Dot. I'm like, are we sure that's not them? Wow. All right, we got 808 and then 818. Not sure what 818 is, so we'll get to that one last here. What's good, my oos?
Hey, what's up, brother Will, man? I didn't even think I was going to be able to get on.
I got
knew
you.
You had a bunch. But I appreciate the pickup, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to call you real quick just to get your take on the situation. Definitely this whole last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just kind of been playing musical, what you call chairs with the roster, and seeing how we're going to fit everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's say for the defense, let's just say best case scenario. I'm not saying this is going to happen or this is what I think is going to happen. I'm just going to say, let's say best case scenario, we go into camp and all of the position groups, linebacker, DB, what you call our pass rushers and stuff, we show that our depth is like, we're doing fantastic. Not only is the starters doing good, but depth is kicking in and we're starting to play roster gymnastics and stuff. But let's come to the interior D lineman, what we were just talking about. Let's say we decide to keep 2 or 3 bigs, depending on what they decide. Let's say it's between Quentin, Big Bo, and Neville Gallimore. You have to pick up one of those guys. And let's say you go into the training camp. Neville Gallimore gives you like an Antoine Woods type look. He's showing a lot of promise and stuff. Does that growth in this small of a time give you enough trust to say, you know what, let me take away from another position to see where this goes? Basically, this question is surrounded by, like, where do you think the surplus and the defense should hold? Do you think you would want to sacrifice it on the interior D-line, other places? But mainly saying, is Neville Gallimore a short burst of growth enough for you to say, I'm going to put some surplus on the D-line in terms of roster gymnastics?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. He would have to go stupid. Like Gallimore would have to be a menace, an absolute terror out there. Like he's winning against Zach Martin. He's whooping Zach often. He's whooping Tyler Biadasz often. He is just such a problem out there. Because as I'm thinking about taking away, do I want to take away from this safety room? No. Do I want to take away from the cornerback room? No. You could argue maybe you can take away from the linebacker room. I'll give you that. I won't fight you on that one. But there's just not many position groups I'm willing to sacrifice defensively, if that's what you're talking about. Because Neville Gallimore was Antoine Woods. You know what I mean? Like, he got to be better than Antoine Woods. If he's just Antoine Woods, no, you got to be better than that.
See, that's what I was feeling like. If you give you a Vince Wilfork type production, I'm just like, okay.
Well,
but
that's what I mean by stupid. That'd be stupid if he's Vince.
Yeah. So that means it got to be an exponential group. So in terms of surplus, where would you like that position to be? Just your preference.
Defensive end. I think I would like to go long with pass rushers and can never have too many pass rushers, and probably corner. I think your safeties you'll do 5 like they did last year, the same 5 as last year, honestly, with Bell and Izzy rounding that out. So I would say defensive end. I'd like to go long and corner. I'd probably go interesting though because Izzy can masquerade as a corner, so you might not have to go long. I probably go at least 5 at the very minimum. 6 probably is what they'll elect to do, but 5 or 6 at corner. Somebody else got to step up. But you're probably looking at Eric Scott right now as your 5th guy. So who can be that 6th guy if we go 6?
Okay, I feel you. That's the only thing that's been playing in my head because you hear of all these new guys, Hoko coming in, and all these guys you want them to do so good, and then you hear names like Chauncey, and then all these BOWLER coming in. You're like, oh frick, man, it's hard, man. It's a great problem to have too much talent, man.
Yeah, that's why I brought the question up. Like, how will this numbers game play out? Because you got guys like you said, Chauncey, who I think is another one of those versatile cats that I would like to keep around because he can do 2 different things at a fairly decent level. On the interior, your interior could be deep, right? Where you got Mozzie, Hankins, Chauncey, Osa, Bohanna. That's 5 right there. If you counting Chauncey as an interior, you carry 5. So yeah, it's the numbers game is going to be interesting, and I probably would go longer on this side of the ball than offense.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, that's the main big thing I've been thinking about, like with the backups and stuff. I'm just playing roster gymnastics. But the one thing I don't want to do, sometimes I hear a little bit of Cowboys. It's not a bad thing, but for me, they're a little scared to do pickups or to bring in competition. I want these guys to be battle tested. I don't care if they're skills and stuff like that. I was like, every single person in here gonna earn their turn. You know?
Exactly. I'm with you. Don't be scared to go bring in somebody. And I actually want to touch on that a little bit here. Hey, dog, I appreciate you calling in as always. You continue to bring in some good conversation, Oos.
All right, brother. You have a good day, man. God bless.
You as well. Salute. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make this an actual show, but we're back here now in camp. It's not going to be difficult to talk about the boys. But I want to give the front office some credit here. They played this kind of secondary wave or whatever one call it, third wave of free agency very well. In the sense of this. We had a free agent, second, third wave free agent show weeks ago about who they should bring in or what position. We talked about linebacker. We talked about guard, running back. They played the waiting game. A lot of players are still on the market. Here's what I appreciate. And they kind of did this last year, but in a year where they're going all in, they could have just said, screw it, sign everybody. Let's get to camp. Let's see if these backup running backs can make something shake. If not, there's a handful of them out there on the market. Let's get to camp. Let's see if these guards can make something shake. There continues to be some guys kind of hitting the market. Some have gotten signed, but they can always dip into that. Same thing with linebacker. I wanted them to bring in a Deion Jones. Well, there's guys that are still on the market. If it can't shake out right, we still can dip into that and bring these guys in. I don't think they're at a dire need at any of those positions, whereas last year you could argue linebacker for me was one. I felt like they were in a dire need. They needed to bring in another guy, and they got a guy in Anthony Barr. You could argue corner might have been one. This year, it's more so depth. And I think they're saying, let's go see what these young guys can do. And if they don't shake out, we can still dip our toes in free agency. We got the money to do it. It's not going to cost a lot of money. Nobody's going to come in. Even if you bring back Zeke, it's not going to cost you a ton of money. Likely a lot of these will be veteran minimum type deals or close to it. So I got to give them credit for that. Kind of just holding tight. Let's get to camp. Let's see how this thing shakes. And if it doesn't work out, we're good to go. And I'm pretty sure, God dang, I just saw Jaylen Brown's contract just drop. Basketball. Oh my That's a whole different discussion. 4 years, 304. Are we serious? He ain't like that to me. 4 years, $304 million. Bro, that is a baseball contract. My bad. My ADD, ADHD kicked in there when I saw that come in. What was I saying? Free agency. Yeah, they'll get to camp. They'll probably talk about it today at the presser. There's this state of the team press conference where Jerry will be up there. It's going to be so awkward. You're going to have, and I hope they don't do it this year, Big Mike in the middle, all stuffy. You know Big Mike. Steven and Jerry, and they just going to be back and forth asking these awkward questions. And it's ridiculous that they put on this show, but it's the Cowboys. It is what it is. I'm pretty positive Stephen Jones is going to say, oh, well, you know, at the end of the day, we want to get to training camp and we want to see what the young guys can do. And if it doesn't work out, we can go see what's out there on the market. He'll say something on that. Yeah, my bad, y'all, but 4 years, $304 million for Jaylen Brown is... Yo. What? Nah, bro. I'm trading him. Ouch, y'all. Rabbit ass mine. All right, man. We about to get up out of here. Look, great stuff. Oh, no. 818. That's right. 818. I done almost forgot about you. You've been on. Look, I almost forgot about you, 818. Let me get you up in here. What's good?
Damn, Scott, you almost forgot about me.
I sure did, man. My bad. What's up with you?
All good. First I'm calling for your show at least, calling on Vox all the time. So the guy who brought up like the cornerback depth, I think he also forgets about Tampa Bay game. You know, when Agent came down in the big nickel, we forgot that Chris Godwin even existed, and that dude was no longer even there.
Yeah. So with Izzy, I brought up some context with that one. If you guys remember, we had issues at cornerback 2. So to rectify that, we moved Deron Bland on the outside and we used Izzy on the inside. Because at that point, you had no AB, you had no Jordan Lewis. And he held his own. He played well. And then the next week, you had a guy like Juwan Jennings, who's another big slot. The matchup worked out very well. For the most part, though, I don't think you want Izzy as your full-time slot. It would have to be kind of matchup dependent.
No, not at all.
Right. It would have to be matchup dependent. And if there is no injury suffered, then Deron Bland can cover every type of slot wide receiver. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He can play inside, outside. He's got the athleticism, the speed, the physicality to play in there.
But like what I'm also saying is like he's worried about the corner position in general.
Yeah.
DQ is gonna play his players in the best of their ability and put them in the right position. Like everyone's like, oh, what are we gonna do in the playoffs? We have to play the Tampa Bay. They have good receivers. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, Izzy's playing slot. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was dope.
My language, but
no, we talked about that with Deron Bland. If you want to go back and look at that show when we had him on the show, I asked him straight up, like, was Dan Quinn kind of keeping this one in the tuck? And he kind of laughed about it and was like, yeah, we were working on that, and we waited to unleash it. So I'm glad that they did, and it worked out for him. But yeah, man, I'm excited. The only way I would be nervous about this cornerback room is if it suffers catastrophic injuries like it did last year, where your top
like, if you look
3
at
corners went down.
Look at all our cornerbacks. None of them are injury prone. None of them had any major injuries, so it's like nothing to really be like shaking about.
Nah. Again, the only way I would get nervous if like last year, 2 of your top 3 corners go down, then you get a little worried, you know.
Yeah, but then again, like when the two of the 3 best corners went down, adversity came in and like, oh shit, Deron Bland's actually pretty damn good.
He was, but we suffered. Deron Bland couldn't cover it all, unfortunately. You know, cornerback 2 was god awful. Even when Deron Bland was doing well, cornerback 2 was getting whooped. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then also like the only position I have any worry about is like linebacker depth, just because like barring injuries, especially one of them being very injury prone.
Now that's the one right there. That's the one I'm more worried about. Yeah.
Yeah, the only player that has like full-time playing is LV and maybe Damone Clark. And then again, Damone Clark is also injury prone. Not injury prone, but had a really big injury, LSU. So that's the only position I'd ever be worried about.
Yeah, that is the most worrisome spot on defense, maybe on this entire team. Saying as the linebackers, I guess the lineman, offensive line, but linebacker depth, linebacker room. Yeah, that's the one right there, bro.
Yeah, and then I also think Neville's going to be the one to get his line cut and say, you know what, you're done. We give you time, and we haven't seen much improvement.
Facts.
So
he on the hot seat. All right, man. Appreciate the call. I'm glad I didn't forget about you. Good stuff.
Have a good one, guy.
Yes, sir. Salute. Sound like he trying to get some cigarettes out of it. Y'all remember the cigarette commercial with a monkey with trying to get them? They don't even do them no more. All right, let's get to these super chats.
Super chat.
My guy Smoke One for you. Salute to Smoke One for you. He be active on Twitter, man. Gallimore, Dig, Bland, Izzy, J. Lou, Scott, and Brooks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That's 7. Wow, you do got 7. I think Miles Brooks could be on the practice squad though. I do. Speaking of Twitter, I just saw Brother L
super chat
drop one. This is definitely facts. He said, "Peace to all who tweeted at the volume at Voch and Sky for training camp. Keep it going. Your voice matter." Hashtag Studio 2023 or 2024. Yes, man. I'm taken back by the support that I saw and we saw on Twitter, where we asked you guys, hey, look, tag the volume, tag myself, Ask Skywalker still on Twitter, tag Voch Lombardi at Voch Lombardi on Twitter, saying, hey, man, we are excited. We want to see them at camp, kind of put the pressure on them to get us down there at camp. And y'all answered the call, man. Y'all answered the call. So I'm hoping that they hear you. John Phelps, not Michael.
Super chat.
He said, drop 5 and said, I can't wait to see this defense play, knowing that they're going to shut the run down. Dan Quinn is so close to reincarnating that old doomsday defense. I think so too, John. I think this Cowboys defense has the potential to be the best since the 1990s. 100%. Sean Daly,
super chat,
drop 10, said, do you think the Joneses are waiting to see if Bland and Eric Scott make a big jump to see if they will pay Diggs? Ooh, I don't know about Eric Scott. Eric Scott's a young guy. He's a rookie. It's going to be tough to really tell if, like, hey, man, this is my Diggs replacement, you know. But Bland is interesting because you saw him do it. You saw him do it in the games. You saw him doing the playoffs. That is, look, I don't think they're waiting to see that, but it's not a bad thing to have in the back of your head, right? We're talking about an all-pro here in Trayvon Diggs. So let's keep that in mind. This isn't kind of a Anthony Brown situation where, hey, look, let's see if one of these guys can continue to be better and it's easy to replace Anthony Brown. This is Trayvon Diggs. This is kind of the Byron Jones situation, right? Where Byron Jones was gone, they drafted Diggs in the second to replace him. They haven't drafted a guy to replace Diggs, but that is a fascinating question. If Bland goes nuclear, do they say, oh, you know what, Diggs, we appreciate you, but we got your replacement? The problem, it's a whole nother conversation, is Gilmore is also out the building. So you're willing to let Gilmore and Diggs just walk, and now you just got Bland, and then we don't know what's going to be around them. I wouldn't play with it. I'm signing my all-pro cornerback. It's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, cornerstone of the defense. Sometimes you just got to pay your best players, man, to win to try to win a championship. All this pocket watching and cap this and cap that. Yeah, if you're going to go out and sign free agents to big deals, sure, but you can't do this. You can't say, all right, we're not going to play the free agent market and we're not going to pay our best players. Doesn't make sense. If you're not going to play in the free agent market, then you pay your best players. It's that simple to me. I'm not going to make this any more difficult than it needs to be. We ain't got to talk about history this, history that. It's right there in front of you. Now, if you happen to be a different team where you say, hey, yeah, we're going to pay big money to some of these big free agents, so we got to let some of these other guys walk. That's not what the Cowboys do. Better pick one. Good one, though, man. Good one. All right, we up out of here, man. Do me a favor on the way out. Y'all held it down today. It was good kind of covering these questions heading into training camp over the last 2 days. Hit the like button if you enjoyed that coverage. If you're new, you just dropped in and you like the chat, you like the vibe, go ahead and subscribe to what we do. This is the off season, so things were a little bit different than what they would be during a regular season. So if you got some friends that are not familiar with what we do, get them hip to how things work here. We strive to be the best morning show that provides so many different paths to learning more about your team and enjoying it, right? And having the entertainment. Those two aspects are tough to come by, I think, in content in general. So definitely let your friends, family, and even your rivalries know to come through and get your Cowboys content, man. Please, please do. Later on, I'll be live again, Vosh Lombardi Live. Mo will be back for prime time. And then we'll probably be discussing tomorrow. I think that's what we'll do. We'll discuss tomorrow what we heard, what we saw down at the State of the Team press conference today, which is happening in the next hour and a half. And then Thursday, we'll get kind of a camp preview, update, whatever, with Patrick Nosey Walker, who was down there. He is our eyes in the sky, boots on the ground, until hopefully we get down there on Monday. We'll keep you posted on that, man. Let me go ahead and press this button and get up out of here. Y'all the best. Come on back through tomorrow. We'll have another good one for you. Keep spamming the volume. Keep spamming it. Get us down there. If not, you just have to wait until they come down to Dallas. Now I'll be at the Star checking out King. I'm out of here. Love y'all. Peace.
Let me talk to you.
Wrestling pod name.